Hey guys, Jonathan Hodges at Nevada Physical Therapy. We posted a video a few weeks ago about the banded hip hinge hold. So if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch that. It's kind of an introduction on how we start teaching the hip hinge. But what I wanted to go over today was another movement where we start reinforcing this pattern, and then also show you what our actual kind of loaded hip hinge looks like. It's also called a RDL or Romanian deadlift. So a couple key points before we get into those movements that I want to go over is, first we want to talk about bracing. So bracing is going to be getting your diaphragm directly over your pelvic floor. Most people who will do a lot of hip hinge work typically will extend out of it, and they'll kind of have their diaphragm in a non-optimal position over the pelvic floor. So if you draw a line across your rib cage and a line across your pelvis, we want those to be stacked and parallel, not opening up like scissors or closing down together, right? So usually how we cue this, we want to have all 3 points of the foot in contact with the floor. So your big toe, pinky, and heel. I want you to pull your shoulder blades back and pull your sternum down. We want to hold that position nice and tight through our core as we introduce this hip hinge. What most people do incorrectly with the hip hinge is they get it all from their lower back and just lean forward. You want to think about driving your hips back to the wall behind you, keeping balance through those 3 points of your foot, and trying to stay organized through your diaphragm opposing your pelvic floor and not extending out of it. So the first movement we do is called banded pull through. You're just going to take a low slung band like this. You're going to step over it, get a fair bit of resistance. Again, all 3 points of my foot are in contact with the floor. Shoulders back, sternum down, staying organized, and I'm going to work on driving my hips back and pulling through. The band is a nice addition to this movement because it helps pull you into the pattern that we're trying to get into. So it's an assistive movement for this movement. It also lets us kind of warm up our hamstrings and get organized when we start adding some weight here in a second. So pretty straightforward. Usually it's something that we can start people with pretty early. This is for anyone that has, tight hamstrings or they've been dealing with some low back problems. We might introduce this early to start teaching them how to get some actual loading to the low back. The other movement I want to show you, this is a Romanian deadlift or a top-down deadlift. So what that means is, typically with the deadlift, you're starting from the floor. So you're already starting the bottom of the movement. We want you to be able to demonstrate proficiency through the full range of motion. Typically that's going to start from the top down. So you're just going to take a barbell. The cues are pretty much the same. I'm going to get organized through all 3 points of my foot. I'm going to get my shoulders back and my sternum down, brace nicely through my core, and then I'm going to break at my hips, driving my hips back to the wall behind me, pull my hips back through. Shoulders back, sternum down, coming back through. What we want to stay out of is this really extended start position, and we end up kind of here. A lot of people kind of extend excessively through their neck. They'll do one of these, but instead, chin down, shoulders back, sternum down, hips going back to the wall. Try to keep from letting that bar drift out in front of you. That's going to move all that force to your lower back. Practice staying stacked through that rib cage and pelvis as you change positions. And if you can demonstrate proficiency, we can start loading that up. And we'll start talking about the deadlift over the next several weeks. Thank you very much.